All right, today we're going on an anatomical journey, a guided tour of the female reproductive system. And our guide for this trip is this fantastic set of study notes that are going to help us explore this incredibly intricate and just fascinating system. Okay, so let's get into it. Here's our roadmap for the day. We're going to start with a big picture overview, our guide to the anatomy. Then we'll zoom right in on the source, the ovaries. From there, we'll follow the critical pathway the egg takes, and then we'll check out its final destination, the uterus. And we'll wrap up by seeing how this whole system connects to the outside.
So first things first, let's get the lay of the land. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, we really need to see the whole map, all the key players that make up this system.
So all in all, the system is made up of 7 major parts. Now for our tour today, we're really going to be focusing on the core reproductive tract. That means the ovaries, the oviducts, the uterus, the vagina, and the external genitalia.
And check this out. This diagram is going to be our main map for navigating the internal structures. It lays it all out beautifully. You can see the ovaries, those fallopian tubes leading away from them, the uterus right in the center, and its connection down to the vagina. Keep this image in your head, because we're going to keep coming back to it.
All right, let's head to our first major stop on the tour, which is really the starting point for everything, the ovaries. This is where it all begins.
And these source notes here, wow, they give us the complete lowdown on these amazing organs. We're talking everything from what they do and what they look like to exactly where they are and, this is crucial, the hormones they produce.
So if you remember anything, remember this. The ovaries are pulling double duty. They have 2 absolutely vital jobs. First, they are the primary female sex organ, and their job is to produce the egg or the ovum. And second, they're like a little hormone factory, cramping out the chemical messengers that run the entire reproductive cycle.
And get this, to give you a real sense of scale, this little powerhouse is only about 3 centimeters long. It's kind of mind-blowing how much is happening in such a tiny almond-shaped space.
Now this is really interesting. We've all heard of estrogen and progesterone, right? But look at this list. The ovaries also produce relaxin, activin, and inhibin. Each of these plays a super specific and really important role in the body.
Okay, so an egg is released from the ovary. Now what? Well, it doesn't just teleport to the uterus. It has to travel. And that brings us to the next part of our journey, this really critical pathway called the oviduct.
Right, so you've probably heard it called the fallopian tube or the uterine tube. It's all the same thing, a pair of muscular tubes. But it's not just some simple pipe, It's actually divided into 3 very distinct sections, and each has its own job.
And we're talking about a pathway that's between 10 and 12 centimeters long. I mean, think about that. That is a pretty epic journey for a single tiny cell to make.
So this trip happens in 3 stages. It all starts at the infundibulum, this funnel-shaped opening that has these little finger-like things called fimbria that help sweep the egg inside. Then, the egg travels through the wider middle section, the ampulla, and finally it reaches the last narrow bit, the isthmus, which connects right into the uterus.
Okay, I really want you to pay attention to this part, because this is huge. That middle section we just talked about, the ampulla, that is where the magic happens. It's the designated meeting spot. It's where fertilization of the egg usually takes place. All right, we've traveled the critical pathway, and now we've arrived at the next major stop, the potential destination for that fertilized egg, the uterus, which most of us know as the womb.
So what is the uterus? Well, it's this incredible, hollow, muscular organ, and it's shaped like an inverted pear. It's tucked away in a really protected spot, just above and behind the bladder, all ready to house and nourish a developing embryo.
And the uterus isn't just one big open space. It's got 3 main regions. That upper dome-shaped part, that's the fundus, and it's the most common spot for a fertilized egg to implant. Below that, you've got the main body of the uterus, and then at the very bottom is the narrow cervix, which acts as the gateway to the vagina.
Okay, so we've seen all this amazing internal architecture, but how does it connect to the outside world? Well, that brings us to the vagina and all the external structures that are known collectively as the vulva.
So first up is the vagina. This is a muscular tubular organ, and it basically acts as the bridge connecting the cervix to the outside of the body, and it has a couple of really important jobs.
What's so crucial to understand here is its dual function.
On one hand, it's the passageway for menstrual flow to exit the body, and on the other, it becomes the birth canal, with an amazing ability to stretch and allow for the delivery of a baby.
And that brings us finally to the external parts. And this is where things get really fascinating, because our notes point out something called homologous structures.
So what does that even mean, homologous? It's actually simpler than it sounds. It means they develop from the exact same tissue in an embryo. So early on in development, the tissue that becomes the clitoris in a female is the very same tissue that becomes the penis in a male. And it's the same story for the labia majora and the scrotum. It's just a wild reminder of our shared biological blueprint.
And here we go. This image just ties our whole journey together perfectly, doesn't it? It's simple, but it recaps the entire path we just took, from the source in the ovary, through that critical pathway of the oviduct, into the uterus, and finally connecting to the outside world.
So, we've mapped out the entire anatomy, the physical structures, the roadmap, but here's the thing. This incredible system doesn't just sit there. It operates on a precise hormonal clock. We've seen the stage, but what about the incredible play that unfolds on it every single month? The timing, the rhythm, the cycle that brings this whole system to life? Well, that's a story for another time.